What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Devil's in the Details. I'm BD.
And I'm Dan.
Batman, The Killing Joke is a 1988 DC Comics one-shot graphic novel featuring the characters Batman and the Joker.
The book was written by Alan Moore and illustrated by Brian Boland.
Alan Moore is an English writer known primarily for his work in comic books, including Watchmen, V for Vendetta, The Ballad of Halo Jones, and From Hell.
Moore has frequently been described as the best graphic novel writer in history. Moore started writing for British underground and alternative fanzines in the late 1970s before achieving success publishing comic strips in such magazines as 2000 AD and Warrior.
He was subsequently picked up by DC Comics and is one of the first comics writer living in Britain to do prominent work in America.
He worked on major characters such as Batman and Superman, substantially developed the character Swamp Thing, and penned original titles such as Watchmen.
Moore also helped to bring about greater social respectability to comics in the United States and the United Kingdom.
Despite Moore's own personal objections, his works have provided the basis for a number of Hollywood films including From Hell, V for Vendetta, Watchmen, and the film recognized as the reason Sean Connery retired from acting, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Brian Boland, also a British comics artist, is best known in the United Kingdom as one of the definitive Judge Dredd artists for British Comics Anthology 2000 AD.
He spearheaded the British invasion of the American comics industry, and in 1982 produced the artwork for Camelot 3000, which was DC Comics' first 12-issue comic book maxi-series created for the direct market.
Boland still remains in high demand as a cover artist, producing the vast majority of his work for DC Comics.
His version of the Joker stemmed in part from his having recently seen the film The Man Who Laughs.
DC Comics' Dick Giordano's invitation led directly to Boland working with writer Alan Moore to create a plausible background story for the Joker.
Boland recalled that he thought about it in terms of who's his favorite writer at the moment, what hero he would really love to do, and which villain.
And he basically came up with Alan Moore, Batman, and Joker.
Although the story takes pains to stress that it is merely one possible origin story, it has been widely accepted and adopted into DC continuity, and the sensual mutilation of a long-running character had to be especially approved by then-editor Len Wein.
Boland said that he saw Judge Death as a sort of dry run for drawing the Joker.
He also recounted that by the time Moore had finished Watchmen, he had fallen out with DC to a certain extent. In the end, he only continued to do Killing Joke as a favor to him.
The 48-page prestige format one-shot comic book took a considerable amount of time to produce.
Both Moore and Boland are well known for their meticulous and time-consuming work.
Both creators, which had recently finished 12-issue maxi-series titles, Moore's Watchmen and Boland's Camelot 3000, had seen delays.
Both creators, however, were supported by the laid-back attitude taken by DC, who Boland says seemed prepared to let him do it at his own pace.
The original editor, Len Wein, left the company and was replaced by Dennis O'Neil, a very hands-off sort of guy with whom Boland only recalled having one single conversation with about the book.
Boland had envisioned the flashback sequences in black and white and instructed Watchmen colorist John Higgins to use muted November colors.
He was upset when he saw the finished comic had garish, hideous glowing purples and pinks, and that his precious Eraserhead-esque flashback sequences swamped in orange.
The 2008 published 20th anniversary edition of the book featured new coloring by Boland, restoring his artistic intentions to the palette.
The book explores Moore's assertion that, psychologically, Batman and the Joker are mirror images of each other by delving into the relationship between the two.
The story itself shows how the Joker and Batman came to terms with their respective life-altering tragedies, which both eventually lead to their present lives and confrontation.
Critic Jeff Clock further explained that both Batman and the Joker are creations of a random, tragic, bad day.
Batman spends his life forging meaning from the random tragedy, whereas the Joker reflects the absurdity of life and all its random injustice.
See, madness, as you know, is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
The torments that the Joker puts Commissioner Gordon through are meant to serve as proof that there's something very deep within each lunatic, a nugget of insanity, that is simply waiting for the right moment to spring forth.
Unlike the Joker, however, Gordon emerges from his ordeal with his sanity and his moral code intact.
The story is also famous for changing how the modern age of comics perceived Batman comics by bringing it back to its darker roots.
The comic book, however, delves deeper in order to present Batman's own psychology.
That he is, in his own way, just as insane as the Joker, and that he and the Joker perceive the world according to different points of view, with the Joker's interpreted through a joke.
Why can't you see the funny side? Why aren't you laughing?
In the book, Joker serves as an unreliable narrator.
He admits to his own uncertainty, as he has disparate memories of the single event.
Sometimes he remembers it one way, sometimes another. At one point, he even says that if he's going to have a past, he prefers it to be multiple choice.
Accentuating the comic's depiction of the world unraveling toward relentless urban violence and moral nihilism.
God damn it. Well, what are you waiting for? Kick the hell out of me and get your standing ovation.
Although a one-shot, the events of The Killing Joke were adopted into ongoing comic book storylines.
DC Comics officially retired Batgirl in the one-shot comic Batgirl Special No. 1, and when Barbara Gordon reappeared in the Birds of Prey series, she was in a wheelchair and became the computer hacker Oracle.
A series which was later adopted into a television series of the same title.
This event, along with a Batman storyline that takes place shortly afterward, Batman: A Death in the Family, involving the Joker murdering Robin, Jason Todd.
The Killing Joke leads Batman's obsession with the Clown Prince of Crime to a personal level.
The mantle of Batgirl would eventually be passed to successor Cassandra King and later Stephanie Brown.
Barbara's paralysis was later retconned into a temporary event that lasted only 3 years.
In DC Comics' 2011 line-wide title relaunch, The New 52, Barbara Gordon was restored as the first and only Batgirl.
In the relaunched universe, many of Batman's stories were erased or altered, but the Killing Joke story remained intact.
In the new continuity, Barbara Gordon recovered from the paralysis inflicted upon her by the Joker's bullet, which only lasted 4 years.
Although she resumed her work as Batgirl 1 year after recovering her mobility, she continued to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder when exposed to gunfire that can result in receiving new spinal damage.
The graphic novel won the Eisner Award for Best Graphic Album and garnered Alan Moore the Best Writer Award in 1989.
The book achieved positive critical reception and a praised legacy.
The Killing Joke is considered to be one of the 3 best Batman graphic novels ever created, including Frank Miller's Batman Year One and The Dark Knight Returns.
Van Jensen of Comic Mix said that each time he read The Killing Joke, he was amazed all over again at how Alan Moore and Brian Boland teamed up to pack such intensity, ferocity, and humanity into those pages.
Widely considered one of the most powerful and disturbing stories in the history of Gotham City, it is mostly accepted as the definitive Joker story of all time.
Since its original release, the book has been reprinted often. It is included in the 2006 trade paperback collection called DC Universe: The Stories of Alan Moore.
There are multiple printings of the original comic graphic novel, with the title on the cover changing colors throughout the multiple printings.
In March 2008, the deluxe hardcover version of the book was released, featuring a recoloring of the book by Brian Boland.
The new colors, featuring black and white flashbacks as opposed to Higgins' colors, along with 1 or 2 items per panel colored in pink or red up until the reveal of the Red Hood's helmet.
In addition to recoloring the pages, Boland also removed the yellow oval around the bat symbol on Batman's chest.
It also contains an introduction by Tim Sale and an epilogue by Boland.
Simply put, it's considered by many to be the definitive edition of the book.
And if you haven't read it yet, you really should.
You read these in your spare time?
I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you to our wonderful patrons whose continued support inspires us to continue research and development and create content for all of you.
Thanks to everyone for liking, sharing, and subscribing. What did you guys think of The Killing Joke?
What was your favorite Batman or Joker story?
Let us know in the comments section down below.
Batman was created by Bob Kane.
Thank you. We love you.
Good night.